Okay, so what's going on with China and Taiwan? I feel like we've had this talk several times before. We all know China wants it. Frankly, they already consider it theirs. Taiwan does not consider themselves Chinese, but now we find out China's building up their commercial ferry fleet. What does that mean? I guess we're going to talk ferries with Lee Smith, my friend, joining me now, author of the book, The China Matrix. Hey, Lee, what's up with China and all these ferries?
Jesse, I am always honored to be on with you speaking about fairies, and especially when there's a relationship to China and fairies. That's my beat, the China fairy beat. Look, the big thing about Taiwan here, Taiwan is important. The first island chain is important. What Donald Trump is focusing on with the tariffs and with a trade war is this. The reason that China has a very powerful military, is building a very powerful navy, is because of the trade imbalance, which is now worth many, many trillions of dollars. That's all American dollars that American political and corporate elites have given away to the People's Republic of China. So without that money, China can't build its military. That's the most fundamental problem. There's no doubt that Taiwan is very, very crucial for a whole bunch of different reasons. But the big thing that needs to be addressed is we have to find a way to strip China of its ability to take billions, hundreds of billions away from the United States each year.
Okay, Lee, so they want the military for Taiwan, right? This isn't just a show of force because honestly, it's been going on so long. They're building up. They're going to take Taiwan. They're building up. They're going to take Taiwan. It almost feels like that they don't necessarily want Taiwan at this point in time. Why haven't they just taken it?
I mean, among other reasons, it's not that easy because they're not quite sure how Donald Trump would respond. I think they'd have a pretty good idea if it was Joe Biden or Barack Obama who's in charge, because remember the different ways, which I document in the China Matrix, about how the Asia pivot. The Obama administration's Asia pivot actually meant nothing, right? It was strictly rhetorical. All the different things that the Chinese Navy, the Chinese Air Force were doing in the Indo-Pacific theater, there was virtually no pushback from Obama, no pushback from Biden. But with Donald Trump, it's different. The Chinese don't know exactly how Donald Trump would respond. Because remember the different things that Donald Trump has I wouldn't say thrown down the gauntlet, but has proven that America is willing to use force. There, of course, was Operation Midnight Hammer, obliterating Iran's nuclear program. And then there's the stuff that Donald Trump has been, there's the arming Ukraine and the stuff that Donald Trump has been saying, threatening Vladimir Putin to bear down and get in line.
Lee, what can we do to China if they decide to go after Taiwan and we want to hurt them? It's long been a traditional way of thinking that we would have a very difficult time projecting power over there and them a difficult time projecting power over here. What can we do to them and what are we willing to do, being as how we rely on them economically?
Well, it's not just economically. I mean, we have a very we have a very big problem. We have a very powerful navy, but it's important to remember that the Chinese destroyed our steel industry, or not destroyed it, but they hobbled it badly by dumping a whole bunch of steel here. Look, we still have an extremely powerful navy, and that's how we project force around the globe. So that's certainly what the Chinese are concerned about, and that's at the forefront of the thinking of American military planners. It's our Navy and it's our Air Force. That's how we project power globally.
Lee, has President Trump, and I understand it is a needle to thread, I really do. We can't just get off the China drug overnight. Actually, we were on China drugs, but that's another story entirely. We can't just get off it overnight, but has he been hard enough on China? Has he been too hard on China? I know he's trying to navigate quite a minefield here.
Well, look, the very important thing is it's not just being hard on China, it's being hard on American companies. And that's one of the reasons why Donald Trump celebrates Tim Cook. Remember, he was at the joint session of Congress back in February, and Tim Cook has visited the White House since then. This is the head of Apple, because Donald Trump is trying to get American companies to move back to the United States. When we talk about the trade imbalance with China, what people need to understand is a big chunk of that trade imbalance is with American companies and other Western companies who have moved their manufacturing to China. This is crucial to understand. It's Americans who are selling out not just American workers, but endangering American national security, our peace and prosperity by moving their manufacturing to China. So he does definitely have some leverage over that. And that's why again, why he celebrates Tim Cook, saying this is a good guy who's done the right thing. So, yeah, through a combination of sticks and carrots, the president of the United States certainly has some control, has a lot of control over what these Western companies are doing in China.
Go pick up the China Matrix, by the way, if you want to. It's an endlessly complicated affair. All right, speaking of an affair that's, I don't know, I guess less complicated in my mind, what is this 20-point plan for peace in Gaza? From my understanding, and you obviously can correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, Hamas has lost 80% of their territory, which means they've lost God knows how much of their fighting force. That's about at the end, I would say. They don't have any options left, right? Setting aside all personal preferences, what options do they even have?
Well, I think that's right, and that's what this is. It's basically terms of surrender. The problem is that Hamas is ideological, right? And to surrender to the Zionist enemy and its great Satan superpower sponsor is a big problem, right? Because that's not just losing its forces, that's also losing a tremendous amount of prestige. So whether Hamas can accept these terms of surrender, that's the big question on everyone's mind. And I think that Donald Trump believes they will not do it. And that's why the return of the hostages, that's why that's so important. Look, the Israelis can walk away, can certainly declare it a huge win if they get all of their hostages back within the 72 hours once this deal is accepted, right? That's the crucial part because that's the most real thing. 48 hostages. A lot of the other stuff is fake, frankly, whether we're talking about an Arab protection force, whether we're talking about the different ways that Hamas leaders can renounce violence and adopt a peaceful way. I mean, that's really just bells and whistles. The key thing is whether Hamas will release the 48 hostages, most of whom are dead. But that's the key. If that happens, then they can move on, and we'll see what else happens. But that's the crucial part. And again, I suspect they will not. But if they do, then it's another win for Donald. I mean, either way, it's a win for the United States. It's a win for the Trump administration, either getting the hostages back or not getting the hostages back. And as Trump has said, unleashing Israel to do what it needs to do in Gaza to destroy a terrorist entity.
Lee, I understand Israel is complicated in the way every single country is complicated. There's not one political party. There's not one thing that drives them. So when I say Israel, I understand I'm making it a little too simplistic. But do you think Israel wants this deal to go through? Because if you've almost conquered your enemy, let's call it 80%, your enemy is almost gone. Why would you want to sign a peace deal now? Why wouldn't they just want to finish the job?
Well, because if Hamas does fulfill these obligations, then that's a big win. Getting those hostages back,
Yeah.
it's very important, not just for the government, it's very important for the Israeli public. And Jesse, you're exactly right. There's a lot of different opinions. There's a lot of different political parties in Israel, but everyone would consider that a big win. And the Israelis would be happy to take what they have right now as a win, and getting rid of Hamas and getting the hostages back. And I also suspect that the official Israel, the government of Israel, probably believes, along with President Trump, that Hamas is not going to accept these terms of surrender.
Lee, before I let you go, just something it's been on my mind since October 7th, among other things, is you say Hamas is ideological, and obviously that's true, but Al Qaeda is ideological. ISIS is ideological, and yet while these organizations will do very stupid, insane things, They're selective because they understand risks. You know, they understand you can hit here, you can't hit there. You can hit here, maybe don't take it too far. How in the world could you be so dumb as to think you could launch a raid and slaughter 1,000 people on a military superior force and get anything other than what they've gotten? I just don't understand strategically the way of thinking. I don't understand it.
Well, you know, there's some speculation and there's some evidence for this as well that this was an attack that was supposed to be joined by Hezbollah and the Islamic Republic of Iran as well. And had they been moving on multiple fronts, that would have been very, very bad for Israel. But Hamas went through with it. And, you know, but nonetheless, Jesse, I mean, Hamas still considers this a big win. I mean, killing that many people, killing that many Jews, they consider that an enormous win, and they consider a win right now to be holding on to the hostages because their hatred, just the idea that they can, and again, it's affecting not just Israelis and not just Jews around the world, but people of good conscience. So at the top of that list is Donald Trump, who's the world's institutional memory of October 7th. He reminds the press all the time about what happened. And people are just so grossed out and so morally and spiritually degrading the idea that they're holding these people, they're holding corpses and they're torturing them. They're making them dig their own graves. So yeah, unfortunately for Hamas, they consider that a win too, to horrify people. That's a big part of terror, to scare people and to horrify people.
What a world. Lee, his book is The China Matrix. I love everything Lee writes. Highly recommend you go pick it up. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.